Hello, everyone. Welcome to LOA Uncorked. This is Holly.
And this is Jeanna.
And Jeanna, listen, I know my heart's going pitter patter, pitter patter.
I'm actually thrilled she's finally here so we can stop talking about it and talk with our guest today.
We have a very famous person today,
Yes,
to me anyway, to everybody probably.
To everybody, yes.
She's a best-selling author, master life coach, and the host of Your Permission Prescription podcast. I hope she has her pad ready, Jeanna. Because after her podcast and the book, I'm telling you.
Yeah. She can just send it right over to the Rite Aid for you. Yeah.
to the drugstore.
Phone the prescriptions right in. Yeah.
Anyway, so welcome to LOA Uncorked, Nancy Levin.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So excited to have you, Nancy.
I am too. And so I've been waiting to do a confession. So we're gonna have to confess before you go, Nancy. But
typically we have you kind of share a little bit about your background and all those kinds of, but Holly can't wait. So she's busting at the seams. So we're gonna take care of her first. And then we'll
I get very excited when I do research about my guests, but I already knew about you. But I did a little bit more research. But however, so we go back way far. So,
we being you and Nancy. Good Lord.
And this is the first time it's the second time we've met. Okay. But she thinks it's the first time, but I know the truth. And so the funny thing is that, on our podcast, Nancy, she harasses me. I get so excited about the guests that she says I stalk them, and she needs to put papers.
Yeah, restraining orders.
Restraining orders.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so I want to confess, Jeanna, that I think the restraining order and the papers should have come a long time ago. Miss Nancy was the director of Hay House events.
Right.
And I remember her running around, and she'll talk about this, I'm sure, running around. And I didn't think she was a crazy woman. She might think she was running around like a crazy woman doing everything, because I thought that was normal. We'll get to that. Okay. But I love that look in her, that shake of the head. And I remember coming up to her and I said, okay, where did you get those beautiful arms, those guns from? And she was wearing a beautiful, like black or dark sheath. And all I could look at is these perfect arms. Now she's not showing me her arms today, but I'll bet you they're still perfect.
Yeah.
And she wrote a book. You had a book with it in a play yard or something. Am I hallucinating on that? You had a book about working out.
There was a card deck about there was a card deck about working out in a playground. Yes.
So a card deck is less than a pamphlet, Jeanna. So we could do maybe a card deck someday. Because we always talk about writing a book is hard.
Yes.
A pamphlet's easier, but maybe a card deck.
Yes.
Anyway, so we go
way cards.
Yes, exactly. We go way back to that point in time.
Yeah. So Nancy, I really should have issued to Holly's point that I typically help our guests with the paperwork to help make sure, Holly, that there's a restraining order in place if you feel uncomfortable. So at any point, I'll give you my email address. We can work that out together. I can help you with that. Yeah.
It's all good. I love it. I love the true confession.
Well, why don't you share with our audience a little bit? I think it always helps ground the conversation. Nancy, if you could just share a little bit about yourself, your journey, kind of where you're at today and kind of those major milestones. And then we can dive into our conversation today.
Sure. So as Holly mentioned, I was the event director at Hay House for 12 years, and I traveled the world with all of our authors and speakers, the greatest minds in the field of self-empowerment and wellness and, all the things. Right. And along the way, I experienced, as they say, a dark night of the soul. And that occurred for me in the form of blowing up my marriage. And so all the gory details of that are in my books and on my podcast. So you can get all that good stuff, but really suffice it to say that was for me the catalyst to really learning how to stop bending over backwards to please everyone else, to really learn what boundaries were and begin establishing them in my life, and to begin a healing journey where I could really learn to put my needs first. So in my position at Hay House, I really thought that I was exceptional at my job because I was boundaryless. So I thought it was all about what can I do? What can I, really essentially, how can I just keep buying love? And through the process of leaving my marriage and really ultimately telling the truth to myself, no longer willing to, live by that motto of never let them see you sweat, or no longer projecting that image of perfection to the world and managing the way that other people saw me. I was really able to settle into the truth of myself, which what surprised me more than anything was that it was so much easier to just be me than carry this self-imposed burden of having to be the fixer, the saver, the rescuer, the person who was bending over backwards, the people pleaser, the non-confrontational person, the person who didn't want to rock the boat. All of that was so heavy to bear. And it's all BS anyway. So, I had created this persona that I was putting out into the world. And what I found is that revealing myself to the people I feared the most had them rally around me the fiercest. Mm-hmm. And so through this process, I ended up ultimately enrolling in my mentor, Debbie Ford's life coach training program, and became a coach, never thinking I would leave my job at Hay House. It was my dream job. And yet, while I was in the process of going through this training, I was changing so much that at the end of the program, I was really unrecognizable. And it started giving me this idea that I wanted to help others heal as well. So I went on to self-publish a couple of books while I was still in my job at Hay House. And I've always been a writer. I have a master's in poetry, but I never thought I would publish a book. Wow. But things sort of came to shove, and I published a couple books. I ended up leaving my job at Hay House, and Hay House picked up one of my books. And then from there on, they have subsequently, contracted for my additional books. And I even have one more new one coming out this fall.
Oh, that's exciting.
We'll talk about that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like your story is really inspirational, because I remember when Jump and Your Life, and we have all your books, it's all going to be in the notes, and Jump and Your Life will appear, because at the time, I mean, you're just an inspiration. And I remember you becoming a coach and talking on people's programs. And I remember
the evolution of,
because I think Nancy. That was 2014 or something back then. Well, I was in a bad marriage, and I was reading that, and I was not great at work, and there was a lot of areas. But what's interesting, and I'm going to fast forward to Boundaries, your latest book, Setting Boundaries Will Set You Free. And in reading that book and listening to your podcast, I've always thought, Jeanna's a self-professed people pleaser, and I'm the last people pleaser you're going to find. So I thought, oh, okay, well, I don't need any of this. And it comes to boundaries. So I'm a Pisces. So Pisces by nature are known to be boundaryless. And then I read what you did, and I thought, no, I would do exactly the same thing. And when I'm talking about that in her forward, she talked about how Christine Northrup was talking about how she would meet her and make sure everything's perfect. Well, that's exactly how I behave. And then I also prided myself on being a chameleon. I mean, it means I'm successful. And yes, I would have run and got the same. And I was like, wait a second, and then I started peeling back the onion. So I think if we can help, I started peeling back the onion, and I was telling Jeanna, I said, I always knew I had poor boundaries at home. I had them with my husband. I had them with my mother. A lot of the things you talk about in the book, I was like, yes, yes, yes. I always knew that, but I didn't think it transcended everything. And I was like, I think I think when you peel back the onion, that's why I said get the pad ready, because when you peel back the onion, I think there's a lot more to be said. So maybe you can just help our audience, because this is a realization for me. I'm doing self-help work all the time. And I was like, I think it's normal to behave like that at work. And yeah, I love that. I get the laugh. I think that's normal. And that's exactly what I would do. And I don't think that's people pleasing. That's just bringing my A game. That's why I'm successful,
right?
And so, wow. Can you talk about boundaries? How do we let our audience members identify
how in all the different ways there's some obvious ways you can think if that's a boundary or not, but how else, how would you define boundaries and how might they show up in a wide variety of ways? The ones that, are most obviously missed by people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer that in one moment, because I want to come back to something that you said, Holly. And, one of the pieces here is when we are consistently overgiving.
Yes.
Which is, the way that we are overachieving, overgiving, we are also overcompensating for, yes, you got it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I do that in every area of my life.
Does.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the way I define boundaries is our boundaries are the limits that we set around what we will or will not do, will or will not tolerate, and will or will not accept.
Mm-hmm.
So boundaries are very personal. My boundaries are very personal to me. And what that means ultimately is that it's up to me to identify those limits. It's up to me to set the boundary, and it's up to me to hold the boundary. So one of the biggest myths I will bust up front is, and we all hear this phrase, so-and-so crossed my boundaries. No. If your boundaries are being crossed, you are the one crossing your own boundaries.
You own that.
Yes.
Right.
So it's up to me to set my boundary, and it's up to me to hold the boundary. So what that means is ultimately boundaries are not about anyone else doing anything different. Boundaries are not about other people changing. Boundaries allow us to really release blame and victimhood so that we can be in the seat of responsibility and empowerment. So we don't need anyone else's buy-in on our boundary, because we are setting it and we are holding it. We don't need anyone else to honor it or respect it or uphold it. That's our job. So what that does is it puts us in the position of getting clear about what's okay and not okay for me. And what do I need to put into place so that I am taken care of?
Okay, well, I have a ton of questions on that. So as a pleaser,
yeah,
I often feel like when I do set boundaries that I am going to upset other people, right? And so can you talk a little bit about that push and pull between the pleasing gene and the boundary definition and holding? That would be great.
So first, what
I'm asking for a friend, not me. Not for my,
of course you are.
This is just for the listeners.
Of course. So first, what I'll say is not every boundary needs to be verbalized.
Oh,
okay.
Because as I just mentioned, my boundaries are between me and me. So even if there is another person involved, if we're not holding them responsible,
Yeah.
If we're not expecting them to honor or respect our boundary, because it's up to us, we don't have to verbalize the boundary.
Sure.
And I will add on a little caveat even. If you're not prepared to really fully hold your boundary, do not verbalize it.
Right.
Otherwise, you're the little kid who cries wolf.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's where a lot of backsliding happens. So really setting a boundary, it can look like me making a decision and putting the structure in place that supports my decision.
Right.
And keeping the promise to myself.
Yeah.
If I decide that I want to share my boundary with someone else, the language of sharing is very important. So it's not you can't, or you never, or I need you to, or, you know, it's not any of that. The setting the boundary verbally is sharing from my experience.
Right.
And what I'm going to do to take care of myself. And what sharing a boundary with someone else can do is give them a page of my operating manual.
Right.
Give them a piece of my puzzle.
Right.
Here's how I work.
Which I love that. In that it grows connectivity and understanding between you and, you know, obviously you wouldn't share the page with people that don't deserve the page.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's a because we all need like those breadcrumbs around how to support one another, how to set someone up to be successful, you know, in those really core relationships in life. I love that. God, I love that.
And so, you know, from this place, we are really, you know, first and foremost, learning how to honor ourselves. Yeah. And that's really at the basis of boundary work. So a few things, you know, most people relate to boundaries as being, you know, restrictive or, you know, depriving, or, you know, I'm mean if I set a boundary or something like that. And the truth is boundaries are quite expansive because that's how we are consciously curating and carefully choosing the content of our own lives. And, you know, one of the questions that I often ask is, you know, are you willing to give yourself permission to consider your own needs at least as much as you are considering the needs of others? Just as a baseline. You know, and if that's, you know, sort of feeling a little prickly, you're not alone. You know, you're not alone. Most people who identify as people pleasers or peacekeepers or conflict avoiders don't even consider their own needs, period. Yeah. You know, and then the next piece is, are you willing to give yourself permission to consider your needs even more than the needs of others? And then the real boundary ninja move is, are you willing to give yourself permission to consider your needs first before you consider the needs of others? Now, nowhere in here did I say, don't consider the needs of anybody else. Right. But this is about learning how to be self-referenced instead of other referenced. This is how we start to know our own feelings and our own thoughts and our own, you know, I liken it to, you know, what it's like to check someone else's weather or temperature before I know how, you know, how I feel. How you feel, right? Right. Yeah. And so this is actually inviting me to check in with myself first. You know, we all, you know, again, if you resonate with being a people pleaser, you are used to having an antenna outward. What do they think? What do they need? What do they feel? What do they want? Right. And that informs how you feel. That's what right. You want, right? And what I'll do, 100%. Right? And what I'll do, yeah. Right. Yes. And so this is really an invitation to turn the antenna back inward. What do I want? What do I think? What do I need? What do I feel? And this is such a foreign concept to so many people. Even something as simple as, if I say, hey, let's go grab dinner, where do you want to go? What's your sort of gut response?
Where do you want to go, Nancy?
Exactly.
I don't care. Wherever you want to go. Good to you.
Right.
Yes.
I don't care. Where do you want to go is the number one response to that question. How different would it be if you actually just took a pause and checked in? What do I feel like eating tonight? Do I want sushi? Do I want pasta? Do I want Mexican?
What sounds good to me?
Yeah, what sounds good to me? And that's something it's a muscle we really need to build. What do I want? What do I need? What do I think? What do I feel?
Well, we have the quotes around that's being selfish, right?
I'm so glad you brought that up. My favorite topic. So, yeah, the word selfish has gotten a really bad rap. And I personally believe that selfish, self-care, and self-love are three sisters whose job it is to support us in honoring ourselves. And, we so often pride ourselves on being selfless.
Yes.
Right? And there in the word itself, selfless, we disappear, we vanish. And what if we can begin to experience this as a both and instead of an either or? I am selfish and selfless. Because the truth of the matter is, we are all everything. We are every single quality that exists.
Yeah.
Both sides of every coin.
It's an and equation.
Right. And so if I can step into, I am selfish and own it.
Yeah.
And let it support me. First of all, that's a lot of self-compassion. I'm selfish and I'm selfless. I'm both. And there are times when being selfish is exactly what I need to be.
Yeah.
And then what it does is it eliminates the trigger of other people around me who I'm used to pointing the finger at, saying they're so selfish.
Right. I mean, just saying I'm selfish. I like, Nancy, you don't know this, but I like to rebrand everything. That's a perfect thing to rebrand is selfish. Okay, we should rebrand it with a different word because just the word alone.
Let's let Nancy rebrand it. I mean, Holli does really feel compelled to rebrand.
Yes.
The rebranding skill set needs a continued work,
rebranded self-care as this bitch is up. Okay, meaning I'm next. I'm it. I'm up. And
bitch is a good word.
Bitch
now.
is a good word these days, Nancy. That's what my children
it's fine.
me.
Yeah,
and it's also a man.
Okay,
and a
so it's
woman.
Nancy Levin approved. I love it.
There we go.
This bitch is up. I'm on it.
Selfishness needs, because there is something, a trigger there, and then also there's a trigger to say, well, if I say I'm selfish, everybody's gonna go, she's just, they're gonna make comments about you for the people pleasers that care.
Yeah,
that's another trigger.
Yeah,
well,
no, it is.
Right, but here's the thing with that. Just to pull, so I would actually invite you not to rebrand and to really find comfort in I am selfish.
Yeah.
And anytime we're fearing judgment from anyone externally, it means we are still in judgment of ourselves.
Yes.
Because if I'm aligned, like I'm selfish, I'll be the first one to say it. I am selfish. I don't have kids. I don't have a person. I'm on my own and I love it. And I am selfish. I love it. But I had to get to that place so that any judgment from the outside, you're so selfish that you never had children, wouldn't stick.
Right.
So if I'm in right alignment with my choices, I have no Velcro for other people's bullshit.
Yeah. No, I love that.
I absolutely love
and
it.
I am selfish is it's a powerful term versus
yes,
it's a powerful term.
Yes. But to your point, it
needs
turned into
it
a
needs
little
no
bit more
passive
demonized
rebranding.
version. Yeah.
Yes.
But I do, there is, as a pleaser, I really envy my friends, and I wouldn't necessarily call them selfish, but I feel like there are friends. Holli is one of them that is very clear about what she wants to do and what she doesn't want to do. And she's unabashed about saying, no, or yep, for sure, let's do that. And where she places her time and who she places it with are of highest importance to her. And she's consistent in that. As a pleaser, I see that. And I've certainly made strides. I feel like I have absolutely made strides, but it is hard for me to get there honestly and easily, without a whole lot of, work and challenge, really pushing yourself.
It's taken me a long time too.
So it is.
Doesn't get easy though.
So the point is there's an attraction to, I see it, it's attractive to me. So at least I think I get a point for at least seeing that I'm at least acknowledging it and knowing I don't have that. I want that. And so that is huge inspiration, right? And then having good role models.
Which is another way that we disown parts of ourselves, like selfish.
Yes.
We also disown the parts of ourselves that we want to be. Yeah. So you see something in Holli that you want to emulate, that you feel inspired by. Yes. That's great, because if you can see it, there's the phrase, if you spot it, you got it.
Right.
So if you can see it, it's in you. And then it's really about what do I need to do to cultivate this quality. Part of it really does. And I'm very much the same way. I'm very intentional about my yeses and nos. I'm very intentional about my time. And I'm very intentional about the people I spend my time with. And I only got that way because, like most things, we learn the hard way.
Yes.
So I learned from being boundaryless, from being, saying yes to everything and everyone. And then I really hit a point where I was like, whoa, I need to stop and really make some conscious choices here. So part of it is how often we say yes when we want to say no.
Yeah.
And, most often we're saying yes out of obligation, out of responsibility, out of fear of someone else being angry or being disappointed.
Yes.
We also say yes because we want to rescue and save and fix. We want to be the hero. But a real true yes should only come from desire. True desire.
Sure.
And that's how you get to the place of not looking at something sitting on your calendar thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? So part of that is building in the pause. I tell my clients all the time, if a direct request comes in and you can say no right off the bat, say no. If you're not ready to say no, simply say, I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Someone else's urgency does not have to be yours. And here's the kicker.
Love that.
You can say no with grace and gratitude, not guilt and excuses. So a no can simply be, thank you for asking me. I'm not available. I don't need to make a song and a dance. I don't need a reason. I don't need an excuse. I don't need any of it. And if the guilt begins to arise, in this context, guilt is a signal that you are taking care of your own needs.
So it's a good thing to feel guilty.
Yes. There's your reframe.
Oh, I love
there you
that,
go.
Nancy.
That is because I was like, I don't find it hard or work to do that at all.
No,
okay.
You don't.
It comes effortlessly like breathing.
But
and
you see, I struggle with it.
Yes, but I don't feel guilty either.
No,
so,
you don't.
I mean, like, do you get to a point where once you
Yes.
practice
I mean,
it,
yeah,
it'll be easier.
yeah. I mean, I am at a point, I'm definitely at a point where I don't feel guilty for saying no, because I'm honoring my own needs. I'm honoring what's true for me.
Sure.
You know, and in the past, I would never have said no.
Right.
Ever. It wouldn't even have occurred to me to say no. So this, you know, this is possible.
Okay.
But really, what it takes is going back to what I was saying. Are you willing to consider your own needs first?
Sure.
You know, someone asks me to do something, or I mean, even if it's like something that's fun, you know, someone wants to go to lunch, invites me to lunch. If I don't want to go to lunch, I will say no.
Yeah.
Even if that other person really wants to have lunch,
Right.
you know, whatever it might be, I have to want to do it in order to say yes, ultimately.
Right.
And it's not about, you know, I've really just taken off the table this whole concept of, you know, letting other people down.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because the truth is, that's theirs. You know, one of the ways we often cross our own boundaries is crossing over into the territory of someone else, trying to manage their experience. Someone else's response to my truth is not my responsibility to manage.
Right.
And that's a way in which all the people pleasers want to take more responsibility than is ours to take.
So can you talk a bit about, and like I said, I've been doing a great deal of work in this area with a ton of Holli sponsorship and other folks outside as well. But, you know, one of the things that I still find I'm struggling with, which tells me I've got a ways to go, clearly, is, you know, when I think about what I want, I'm often don't have a clue.
Yes, such a great question.
So that checking in,
meaning like you,
well, I feel like I haven't built the skill set or the muscle to check in on myself to even know what I want.
Right. Yes.
Okay. That's a great question, Jeanna.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll share a couple things with you. One is, do you have my book Worthy?
Yes.
There's an exercise in step 9 called 50 Desires.
Okay.
Oh,
and
okay.
I actually, I
Okay.
actually did a podcast about that one exercise.
On that exercise. Wow. Okay. I will need to check that out.
I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
When I left my marriage and I was really under so much control, when I left, and I'm not being funny, I didn't know, what do I want to wear today? Or what do I want to eat today? Or how do I want to move my body today? I had been living under such control that I began, anytime any kind of inkling of a want or desire arose, I wrote it down. So part of this is, again, taking that antenna off of everybody else and bringing it back to, what do I want? What do I need? The best way to learn how to build that muscle is a practice of self-connection. So whether it is meditation or journaling or dancing or going for a walk or taking a hot bath, not something distracting,
right?
Like Netflix or, you know,
right.
I'm not talking about just alone time or downtime or chill time. I'm actually talking about something that reconnects you with you. So it doesn't have to be long. I do suggest that it happens daily so that you get yourself into a routine of really knowing the non-negotiables in your day. So, you know, every morning I meditate and I journal. And that is connecting myself with me.
To you,
so that I can start to sort of translate and interpret my wants and my needs and my desires. And even being able to even being able to commit to a certain amount of time with myself each day. So not even time for myself, but time with myself. That's the difference.
That is a big difference.
Yes.
Well, so you would say then when you left your marriage, for those audience members, that it could be not necessarily a marriage, but you didn't really know who you were at that point in time. At that
barely,
you were barely. And so you were so this is the exercise. So everybody go get the book, Worthy.
Absolutely.
This would be the exercise you would do, and these steps to be with yourself, what you do to find where are those boundaries? What do I desire?
Yeah. What do I desire? And then ultimately, through the process, what really ends up happening is that we are able to see what we're really desiring more than anything else is a particular feeling.
Absolutely.
So, I can say I want a private jet, but what I really want is freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what a private jet means to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh gosh. I feel at one point it's sort of heartbreaking and alarming to sort of pick your head up and realize I don't really know who I am anymore, or I've kind of lost a bit of myself. So I find that the importance of, it's part of mindfulness, it's part of being conscious, is just realizing when that starts to slip, and it slips easily for pleasers, right? Like us, that I don't even realize it's slipping away because I don't have these practices and these skill sets developed fully yet. And it's so much about others and less about ourselves that so quickly it can be gone. Good news is it comes back.
Right.
Nancy says it comes back.
It comes back.
Yes,
the other thing I'll share in this is, especially for those of us who have been, chasing the gold stars of external validation, chasing accolades, the applause, all of that.
Yes.
First, I'll say anything we're seeking externally needs to be resolved internally first. So it's not going to come from the outside. We have it backwards. We have to feel worthy. We have to know, what we are worthy of first. The second part is what I find most often in people who, we all might know, self-care. Okay, I should take care of myself, or I should spend time with myself.
Right.
And then we go into the guilt about it, which I'm again saying guilt in this context means you are honoring your own needs. It means you're in the right direction. But what really it comes down to is we don't do the things we need to do with ourselves because ultimately no one's there to give us the gold star. No one's saying, good for you, you took a hot bath. Good for you, you meditated. Good for you, you read for 30 minutes. So we only want to do the things that are on display for a gold star.
True. It's so true.
So then we need to learn how to give ourselves our own approval. We need to make that the most important and essential approval.
Yeah.
And really the only approval. I'm giving myself permission to spend 30 minutes in the bathtub with a book tonight and a candle.
And when you do it, you give yourself a gold star.
Yeah. And be in the bath no matter how much arises. The kids are doing whatever, or so-and-so's doing whatever. I should be doing this. I should be doing laundry. I should just be with the discomfort at first.
I love that.
Be with the discomfort at first.
And I know that discomfort is actually serving you.
100%.
When you do these things for yourself, you get to serve everybody else.
Actually, if there's discomfort coming up, it's a gold star.
It's a gold star.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes. It's funny because I actually joke about gold stars all the time.
She does.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And like external
external validation.
Well, and
never internal.
You had made a comment on one of your last podcasts that you prided yourself of having no needs.
Right.
And Jeanna said that. I was like, you should listen to episode 44 of the prescription. And I was like, I felt the same way.
Yes.
Like I used to, I don't do it anymore. I'm like, I'm needy. Like I was saying, like, I have needs. And we laugh. Everybody says it when I say, well, I have needs. Okay. And I made it into a joke, but I'm serious about it. But people laugh when I say, I have needs, but
it's because it's as if we don't know,
Right. I get it. I get it.
But we have prided ourselves in
Absolutely.
having no needs and
Well,
being the chameleon and all the things that give yourself away.
Right. And we were recently in a conversation, we were talking about acceptance, accepting and accepting. And I had a reaction to that word. Like I would be uncomfortable being proud of accepting because I want to do everything myself. Like that, to me, that would make me feel uncomfortable to be happy about acceptance because and I'm working on this. I mean, certainly working on, but it is an active conversation in my head around lay that down, like knock that off. You don't have to be all things to all people. You're not going to win. There really are no gold stars. You're not going to win anything.
Give yourself one.
I give myself one now. Yes. I never thought about giving myself one.
Well, I'll give you more. Okay. So Nancy, listen to this. So we are, of course, we're anticipating talking to you today and I'm trying to plan a milestone birthday of hers. And I was like, I need Nancy's help. Okay. Cause she's like, I don't need it. I go, it's not about needing it. Okay. It's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do anything? She goes, no. And I said, are you really sure about that? And, and so it's this circular. And then I said, which is probably bad, Nancy. Okay. I get a bad black star for this, but I said, let Nancy give it to you. I go, but everybody wants to celebrate you. Do you want to say no to that? Okay. She goes, but it's expensive. I was saying, let's go to Vegas and have a little spa time.
Because I'm going to be 21, Nancy.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I guessed.
Yeah, that's right.
And she's like, I don't want it to be expensive for people. Like, oh, people can figure that out for themselves. Okay. Like you're not responsible for that. Yeah. And, and so we went around and around and guess where, after 2 conversations, I'm zero. I can't find, I don't know. I can't find the Holy Grail here. So.
Well, the reality is we're going somewhere.
Right. As someone who historically has not liked celebrating her birthday.
That's what I told her today. Mm-hmm.
I'm not a birthday person personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know other people are, and I know other people want to celebrate with me or other people want me to celebrate their birthday. Sure. But when it comes to my birthday, I'm really happy to do none of those things.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
Yeah. So, I think it really does come down to, what is the way that I can best celebrate myself?
Yeah.
And check your reasons, check your excuses, but also really check with, what's most true.
Calling to me. Yeah.
What's most true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how I don't think most people understand codependence and how that relates to boundaries? Because I definitely was in a codependent relationship. I didn't even know it. I didn't know what it meant because I thought, well, I'm independent. How can I be codependent? Like this kind of thinking now I laugh at. But nevertheless, can you explain that a little bit for our audience?
Sure. And I will say that codependency can arise in really any kind of relationship.
Correct. Yes.
Codependency is essentially wanting / needing someone else to regulate you emotionally.
Mm.
Right.
Meaning, right? Like I'm only going to be okay if they're okay. Or needing something from someone else so that you can relax. So what, anyone listening might really relate to what I'll share here is, that loop in your head of what do I need to do or say to make everything okay?
Yes.
That is codependency.
I know the loop well.
Yeah, that's really codependency, because I want to make sure that the boat is not being rocked. I want to keep everything status quo. I don't really know how I feel until I know what's going on with the other person. I don't want to do anything that's going to set them off, and then I will be uncomfortable. So it's this enmeshment.
Mm-hmm.
It is the absolute antithesis of boundaries. Mm-hmm. Boundaries, I know where I end and you begin. Mm. I know it's okay for me and not okay for me, regardless of you.
Right.
Enmeshment and codependency is tied in with you. We all have this idea that relationships should be harmonious. We should have harmony at all cost. In any relationship, the goal is harmony at all cost.
Right.
And guess what? Harmony at all cost comes at a very high cost.
Yes.
To us. So it's far more genuine. And I really want to stress this. It's far more genuine when we are truthful about our yeses and our nos. That's how intimacy happens. I can't trust you when you say yes, when you want to say no.
Right.
I can't trust you.
Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So true.
Mm-hmm. So if we really can come from this place of, I need to check in here first to find what's true for me and then share that with you. Yeah. That's how you're going to know me.
Oh. When you frame it like that, because as a people pleaser myself, the intent is not to be untrustworthy with your action, right? So, right, but when you say it like that, it almost, it puts it in a place that now I'm at the core of my values.
Right.
Now there's a crossroad between, because at all costs, my relationships, right, I feel like their trust is the baseline, right, for everything. Mm-hmm. And that is a core belief. I had never thought about it like that, but that really helps
frame it
and really push on the pleasing part, because right, yeah, it's in conflict with a huge value. I had never thought about that.
Exactly. And then that is how you can live resentment free.
And coming from because we have obviously a partnership, and I, being the boundaryless Pisces, I'm
the brains of the operation.
The intuitive. So when she says yes, sometimes I think, is this a real yes? So I try to figure out if it's real or not.
It's exhausting.
It puts extra work on the party that I want you to, because I know if it's not a real yes, she's not going to show up and be her best and be happy. Right. And I really don't want somebody to come if they're going to half-ass it. Okay.
Exactly.
So right.
No. Well, and the last thing I ever would want is for you to feel like I'm untrustworthy.
Well, I never thought of it like that before. But, no, I think it's like my job to figure out what you need. Okay. Like, listen,
which is exactly.
But here's
the thing. The thing is, this is why building in that pause is so important.
Yeah.
Don't go to the knee-jerk yes.
Yeah.
And you can even be in conversation and say, you know what? I am going to close my eyes for 30 seconds and really check in about what's true here in the middle of a conversation. You can take a pause and say, I'm going to go for a walk around the block and really consider this. And when I come back, I will let you know, yes or no, whatever it is. You have full reign to give yourself everything you need to make a choice.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, every choice we make, every single choice we make serves our highest vision or sabotages it.
Yeah.
One or the other. And, we all want to go to have, our tarot cards read and have our fortunes told and all the things. Present moment choice is the crystal ball.
Yeah.
Present moment choice predicts our future.
Oh, sing that, sister.
Wow.
I'm telling you, that's a big deal.
And there's no middle ground. It either advances you or sabotages.
And the most important thing is to be conscious. So, if we just even sort of play with this, like, silly, like, okay, let's say I'm saving money to buy a house and I'm late night online shopping and I want to buy these shoes. If I just buy the shoes unconsciously, that's definitely sabotage.
Right.
If I stop and think, okay, I'm saving money to buy a house. This is not in support of me saving money. I'm not going to buy the shoes. That is serving the vision. The middle ground, I would say, is I'm saving money to buy a house. I really want these shoes.
I want the shoes.
I'm aware that it might take me a little longer to get the house if I buy these shoes. I'm going to consciously buy these shoes and extend the time it's going to take to build the house.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I like the pause. I mean, you're talking about pausing on all of
because
these
because ultimately, and this is sort of going in another direction, but I'll tie it in, because really often something like that is a way that we are checking out late night online shopping, or eating or drinking or exercise or work. It's like, what is your go-to drug of choice?
Right.
Because really all that is suppressing anything you don't want to feel or deal with.
Right.
So instead of just hitting buy the shoes, taking the pause to actually consider, do I want to buy the shoes? Do I not want to buy the shoes? You can also consider what's really going on here.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do I not want to feel? What do I not want to deal with?
Right.
That's having me go unconscious or go numb.
Yes.
That's a beautiful practice. You can do that with whether it's food binge or anything.
Exactly. Because really they're all of our avoidance strategies.
Yeah. The distraction of choice, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Nancy is the queen of badassery boundary.
She is. I mean, I believe it. Like, I'm signing up for her queenness. I'm moving into your
I see now I'm gonna have to do a restraining order over
kingdom. This might be the first Gigi ever restraining order
ever in the history of restraining orders. It's Nancy. So much to digest and such a rich conversation.
Yeah.
I did want to touch on very quickly before our time is out. Is there any information about your next due book that you can share? Woo, yes. I can't wait.
Yes. So it's called The Art of Change.
Oh, I love
8 weeks to making a meaningful shift. And it is a robust guided journal. So it's kind of like a workbook, but we didn't want to call it a workbook.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I will call it a robust guided journal.
I love that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And it's coming out September 6th.
Oh, we will be getting
we're in
that
the
and
middle
going
of
through the robustness. Of
yes,
it. Yeah.
we're in the middle of significant change.
Yeah,
So
we
I
really
can
are.
imagine that that's important. And you coach thousands of people and you're actually coaching coaches now. I think that's phenomenal.
I'm coaching
With your
coaches.
academy.
Yep. I train and certify coaches, aspiring coaches, already certified coaches, and people who want to add coaching into their skill set.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
I might be signing up for that.
Yes.
I want to coach with Nancy.
I love it so much. Well, I hope that we were able to bring everybody along.
Yeah, me too.
And I mean, I have one last question before we go.
Okay.
I mean, it's sitting in my brain. And so I have to ask it. Is it possible, and let me make sure I can get it out properly. Is it possible that there are some slices of your life where you show up with badass boundaries and there's some areas of your life
Great question.
that are not? Is it possible to have leaky boundaries in one area and strong boundaries in another area?
Or have it compartmentalized.
Yeah. Or are you just sort of in denial? I guess we could end with that question because that's the one that's been kind of haunting me the whole time and I've forgotten to ask it.
I will say that, there is the old adage, how we do one thing is how we do everything.
Yeah.
So when it comes to boundaries, I have seen pretty much across the board that how you show up in one area of your life with boundaries is similar in other areas.
Okay.
I would say that there are ways of being where we may be different in different areas. I was, for example, a powerhouse at work and silent in my marriage, but it had nothing to do with boundaries.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I see that now.
Yeah.
Yes, I see that now because I thought I had it so buttoned up in one area. And after talking to you, before talking to you, reading your book, I'm like, wait a second. No, I think I
maybe didn't.
Yes.
Yeah,
and so for those listeners, I don't know, listen into the podcast, your prescription, permission prescription. Sorry about that. And grab her books. All of them are great. I think the Worthy one, and of course, your latest book about setting boundaries will set you free.
And we'll look forward to the change. Robust.
We need that. So I'm glad it's coming out
in
soon.
September. Yeah.
Me too.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for being with us, Nancy. You
My
are
pleasure.
Just a delight and a blessing. And I just am
She's
honored.
badassery.
Yeah, she's total queen boundary badassery.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for taking us on the journey to boundary badassery.
Yes. Yeah. You're fantastic. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.